Booyakasha! Welcome back to another episode of If You Can't Handle the Heat. It's your boy G Swizz. Join with me, Jokesy. How we doing, Jokesy?
I'm doing awesome. I'm repping the new swag I just got delivered from the dirtiest of mics. So pretty fired up. Out of system athlete. Pretty exclusive. Gotta be one of few to get stuff like this. So
That's
pretty
true.
sweet. Fired up. I've texted Rado, Gage, and Micah for their addresses. I have all their stuff, and I have not received any addresses. So I'm just holding. Maybe I'll just start wearing their stuff.
That's true. All right. The tough thing about that is that you sent me an envelope all the way from Germany to Bulgaria, and that envelope is in some random Bulgarian household or whatever. I don't even know because like I say, my apartment code is like morph code or whatever. I don't even know what it is. It's like if someone said, "Hey, give me your address," I'd be like, I just show them that, and I'm like, "What is that? Like, what is it? I don't even know." So So what I have to do is I have to go downstairs, and there's like a place there's like a shipping company that gets it. I don't know, but yeah, we're also thinking about selling like
Well,
that. What are you saying?
no, finish what you're saying.
No,
Don't
I'm saying
stop
that we're
where you're.
also eventually gonna might sell the out system, and then instead of where it says athlete volleyball, because you have to be an out system athlete in order to get the athlete gear. But we hear there's like 4 or 5 articles of clothes that they gave to the athletes, so you'll be seeing those very, very soon.
Very soon. Also, hey, could be worse. Yeah, your shipping's not working, but your apartment could be infested with fruit flies. That's pretty sick. I got that
You
going
have
on right
that?
now. So, oh yeah, it's a lovely place. It's so crappy.
Crappy.
Shit
Well,
crappy.
before we announce we have a guest on today, on fat shout out Dr. Price Electrolytes. Use the promotion code AddSystem20 for 20% off. Keep you nice and electrolyted, and then also if you haven't already, click the subscribe button. We love you guys. Um,
And the guest
yeah.
is Micah.
And the guest is not Micah. The guest is my boy Tony Chan. He plays for, basically, I'm sure you've seen, this is 9-man week, and we're posting a lot of 9-man videos, and there's more to come. Well, it's gonna last a little longer than a week because we have so many videos, including a vlog and everything, along with interviews and stuff. So that'll all be releasing. So we got Tony Chan on, who actually reached out to us, and he's from Chicago. And we just from the crazy footage, if you haven't checked out already, check out the 9-man footage. And as a thank you, and as just us interested in it, we want to kind of get a 9-man guest on. He was the man for the job, and it was perfect. So that's who we're getting on. And Joe, we have our first friendly tomorrow, and then also on Saturday, so I'm excited. So that's actually happening. So my first taste of real professional volleyball, but I don't even know if all of our stars are going to be in. We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Tony Chan and Micah Ma'a.
Yeah, you can handle the heat. Yeah.
We are now joined here by Tony Chan, member of the Chicago United 9-man volleyball team and all-around 9-man volleyball god, as I have been told by the great Fana Zhang. Tony, thanks for hopping on the podcast today, man.
I'm definitely not a god. I wish I was. I am still very much a student of the game, but I really appreciate the compliments there. And for me, I'm still learning about the game. There's so many people that have come before me that I'm continuing learning the intricacies and the technical pieces of the game as well. So I am so happy that you all are interested and willing to have a bit of humility as well to take, considering your professional careers and how far you've gone within your volleyball careers as well. So that's really cool.
Well, we'll start off right there. How long have you been in the 9-man game?
So with Chicago United, we're definitely on the newer side. We've been around for about 4 years now, and this is our 3rd season in the circuit. And usually what they call doing a full circuit is you get to go through all 7 cities and play through all 7 tournaments that are hosted by each city. So we are almost halfway through the full circuit. So we're relatively newer. There's other clubs that have been around for 70, 80 plus years that have been doing this a lot longer than us, 2nd, 3rd generation 9-man players. So we're very much student of the game on our side. Yeah.
This is so cool to learn about. This is so cool to learn about. Okay, who's the oldest team?
There are a few heritage teams that have been around for quite some time. So Washington CYC out in DC, they've been around like about 70 years. So outside of nine man, they do a lot of other things. They do like basketball, they do lion dance, they do like a Chinese New Year parade. So they're like a nonprofit, well-oiled ran machine on their side. And then Boston Knights also have been around for quite some time as well. And then those are two of the like OG teams. And you have like New York Freemasons, Boston Freemasons. They've been around for quite some time. So those are some of the teams I would consider as heritage teams, because like this game knowledge have been passed around like 2-3 generations on their clubs on their side. So it goes pretty deep.
What exactly is, so you're calling them heritage teams? What exactly, if you could describe that?
Yeah, I call them heritage teams because they're OGs. They were there from the start. They were there. Maybe they had some kind of connection of that first tournament that was ran in 1930s, and that was between, I believe, like Providence, Rhode Island. They used to have a Chinatown community until it was burned down, supposedly by the mafia. Boston, and I believe New York as well over Labor Day. So those are like the OG teams that have been around since, the first tournament that ran for nine man.
Are these going on? I'm kind of hogging the questions. Go, Gabe.
Yeah.
No. Go ahead, Micah. No. You go.
Are these? So how big is this game in China? Like, so has it become bigger in America now? Is it bigger in China?
It's kind of, so there's an interesting history behind that, right? So I think Coach Donnie eloquently explained it really well. Was in the early 1900s, when America and Europe was sending Christian missionaries over to this little part of China called Guangdong. And then there's a very even more specific part of China called Toisan, where volleyball was passed on to that area. And Coach Nani explained it that if you read the original rules of volleyball, there's no technicality on how you can pass the ball, how you can hit the ball, and all that kind of stuff. So it's very loosely interpreted in how, what can be done. So that type of volleyball was passed on to this area. Fast forward to the immigration of Chinese during that area, a lot of the immigration that happened and movement of immigration, Chinese people, I would say 90% of the migration of Chinese were from that specific area called Toisan. So if you go to like Germany, if you go to Australia, you go to all the Chinatowns across the world, we all speak that certain dialect called Toisan, right? And the sport just passed down from generation to generation. So if you go back to China and Toisan, they actually play nine man, but they kind of tweak the rules a little bit to be a little bit more technical and reflect the game of sixes a little bit more. So you can penetrate on a block. You can, the block, it looks like sixes, but with just 9 players. However, as the sport passed down to the folks in North America, and as Chinese people immigrated to North America, they just kept the same rules over and over. So it is very big in Toisan, but they play more of a sixes format. In North America, it is, I believe in Montreal, our first tournament, there was close to 140 teams involved, about 70 men's team and 70 women's team involved, over like 3,000 or 4,000 people. So it's quite a sight seeing like huge, like a sea of Asians in one area playing volleyball at a very high level. It's a pretty cool experience. So it's hard to say which way is bigger. Toisan and Guangdong, like that is, they're very passionate about volleyball in that area. Like if you watch a documentary, people are like, it is famous there. That's where a lot of good players come in. But we've created a niche within our community in North America just because of the tradition that was passed on over, close to over a century.
And why is it that go Joe?
No, I was gonna talk about, because I was just reading through our comments and a lot of the content that we're posting. I just have to ask, because we were getting asked this question a lot, is
we've been going to battle with people.
So with the Chinese 9-man, obviously there's like regulations of certain amount of or percentage of like Asian ethnicity you have to have, or Chinese ethnicity. Can you just go into detail about the history of that and explain why that
Yeah.
is the way it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very touchy subject, right? It's all about exclusion and whatnot. And the reason the way it is, you can kind of go back to the history of just Chinese exclusion from America, not being able to fold into the culture while they're here from the time of the gold rush when they first made that major immigration over all the way to the 1970s. Chinese people were not allowed to play in the gyms, were not allowed to be part of any rec league or volleyball league. So for us, we were always excluded in everything that was available. And, a lot of it still happens today. There's nothing, it might be not be as apparent or out there, but it still happens today, right? So that rule stems from a lot of culture and tradition and wanting to have a avenue for Chinese Americans and Asian Americans to be able to connect. I think one thing that I've always seen it as is a family reunion, right? There's a lot of tradition, there's a lot of culture, there's a lot of history that we hold to, and of Eastern value, that is, that's everything to us, especially in America. That's all we have left here. So that's part of the reason why that rule has held up, is because it's just a way for us to have like a family reunion, to kind of look back at the people that have gone before us, that has suffered. Like, I'm not sure if you knew this, but like one of the biggest lynching that has happened in America was actually in I believe in LA as well. So like there was a lot of oppression towards Chinese people that were not talked about in history books and such. So it's just an avenue for us to connect, commemorate those who have gone before us, to remember those who have gone before us, and realize those are the people before us that suffered greatly so we can be part of America and have a better life. So it is a touchy subject, but I think the bit that I always like to tell people is like, you might not like the rule, but we just ask you to respect tradition, take some time to learn, open your minds a little bit, come to a tournament, see it for what it's worth. And I think that is an opportunity for you to kind of open up your worldview a little bit more. And I think there are definitely avenues and tournaments that there's no ethnicity rules at all, right? And that gives an opportunity for maybe you, Joe, or Gage to come in and participate as well. Like there's the DC Mini, the Philadelphia Mini, the Chicago Mini as well that we run. We don't have an ethnicity rule, but for us, that Labor Day tournament, it is very, very special, very dear to us. There's a lot of ties. It's a family reunion for us. It is something that we use to get a level of commonality with each other and meet other people that are practically family, because we all speak the same or similar tongue as Toisan with each other as well. So that's kind of my bit on the ethnicity rule. So essentially 6 people on the court needs to be 100% Chinese, and 3 of the 9 can be of any Chinese, of any Asian descent percentage wise.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I thought I saw some of the guys, I remember because I was editing some of the games. Some of the guys didn't seem Asian at all. They just seemed white. I was like,
they might be a percentage of Chinese,
okay.
Right. And I think,
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's another angle to that, right? They might be half Chinese, right? But this is an opportunity for them to connect with the heritage that they might have not gotten while they're growing up, right? Some of them might have not grown up in Chinatown. Some of them may not have been able to get an opportunity to meet Chinese friends or Asian friends as well. So like we have a few guys like that, and they're like, whoa, like this is a great way for me to connect to a culture that I've never had exposure to. And in some ways it makes them feel a little bit more Chinese or a little bit more Asian, because all of a sudden they've gained like 100 more Asian friends from the community.
That's
I have
awesome.
a question. So
Mhm.
I've played in a 9-man before.
Yeah, I heard in LA, right? With Taylor Crabb and Justine Wong, I heard.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
the word travels fast.
yeah, we cut some corners, but I am Chinese. Is there like I'm 10%?
Yep.
Would I be able to play in a Labor Day tournament because of that?
You're in. I got dibs on you, Micah.
Okay, I got the ancestry DNA to prove it.
Yeah.
You're in. I got the ancestry
you
to
can
prove
participate, and
I
for
can
you,
show you guys my stuff.
And for you like it's cool because like we do a Chinese banquet dinner. There's lion dance. There's a lot of traditional culture things. If you didn't get to experience that growing up, like this is a great way to immerse yourself and learn about kind of the heritage, the culture, and people that have come before you as well. And that's kind of how I've seen it. Like it's more than just playing volleyball. There's so much history behind it, and there's a tradition behind it that we like. For me personally, like that's the most important part than just playing volleyball.
This is I think like the thing that we're the most excited about out of system, because we want to shed light on like what volleyball is, but way more beyond that, what volleyball looks like. And it's such an interesting game because it comes in so many different forms.
Mhm.
And like I just don't think that other sports have
That's true.
the
That is true.
diversity that we have. Like I see people playing volleyball all over the world, like in such different formats. Like we have 6-man on the beach, we have 4-man on the beach, we have draws, we have huge tournaments. Like in Chinatown, we have huge tournaments at the Manhattan Beach Pier that are like, I don't see a lot of other and I might be just super ignorant, but like I don't see a lot of baseball tournaments that are like the volleyball tournaments, or football tournaments that are like these volleyball tournaments.
So many
themes
communities.
and with
so
many different communities and Wapaka and all these things. And this is the coolest thing in the world.
I think it helps that
thing.
there's like a net between the players, so you can't like fight, right? There's a net that kind of divides. Whereas like basketball, it's like you're going to war and you want to like demolish the other people, right? So I think having the net in between people helps a little bit, kind of, right? And you can only control what's on your side.
That's an interesting take.
So are a lot of these people like so you said that I want to go 2 questions here.
Yeah.
So for a lot of these people, you said that, well, for some people, they're like generational players, right?
Yeah.
Do they sometimes learn 9-man first? And then are these tournaments like their lives? They just like live for it, live and die off like the outcomes? Or is it more, most of the people there are just here to have just like the community and just have a good time?
Yeah. The cool thing is like the community is very diverse. So you have all that you mentioned. I have met people that have learned how to play 9s first before 6s. Like they started when they're 10. So they learn all like the weird, crazy rules, like the lifting and all that kind of stuff. And, all the bad habits in 6s, but they're great habits in 9s. So there's actually someone on our team that learned how to play 9s first. And the cool thing is there's no divisions. So as you are a teen, you might end up playing against like these monster teams that will just absolutely destroy you, right? But you get one block, you get one kill, like the kids team just go nuts. I think there was like one year, like back in early 2010s, and that was before my time. I just heard stories. Mike Lambert, Kevin Wong, Scott Wong all had a team, and they played a kids team, and this kids team, just got a kill off them, and they just went nuts. But like it helps in some ways, it does help speed up the development, because like what other opportunities do you get to play with these insane professionals, get dunked on, get beaten on, but the kids still have fun regardless if they lose or not. And then you have teams that are so competitive, they lose or die by it. But here's the crazy thing. There's no prizes, right? So it's more of a pride thing for them, right? Like I won the national tournament, and there's some programs that are ran in the circuit that are like volleyball machines, like technical, like they teach you how to play volleyball, like the right form, the right technique and such. And then there's some teams that are just old guys getting together, 50, 60 years old, that been playing for this. They haven't missed a tournament since like the 60s. And it's an opportunity for them to play with their sons, with their kids and such. So it's a whole variation of different teams that come together for this one tournament. And the nice thing about the format is, I mean, it's typical, right? You get your pool play in the beginning, and then it splits into your challenge rounds, and then your single elimination on Monday. So eventually everyone kind of goes into kind of their own little division based on their skill level. But it is the diversity and such, and like it makes it a very fun atmosphere and very fun game for everyone.
Are there women's teams? Because I just realized that I didn't see a girls or
so the women's side came in a little bit later, I believe either the 70s or 80s. And I apologize if I butchered it for those in the community. And they just play 6s, but on concrete. I don't really know too much about how that came about. To be honest, that would probably be someone else that's more knowledgeable. But yeah, the women's side just plays 6s on their side. And I believe few years ago, Montreal, Justine Wong Orantes played with a team. I forgot what's the team name, but they had a super team where it was like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing.
So I had two questions. One, going back to that region, do you know exactly why it is that a lot of the immigrants to America came from that specific region?
Yeah, it's mostly the vicinity, right? Toisan people have always been very explorer like mentality and kind of like and it's within the southern part right by the sea. So for us, it was an easy escape by ship to anywhere because we were just so close to the sea, whether it's to Hong Kong, to Macau, to Australia, to San Francisco, New York. So we were, Toisan is a very much a wet area, very harbor-like, shipbuilding, a lot of that in that area. So naturally, because of like political instability throughout the 1860s all the way to the 1970s, we were always very adventurous people to try to find a better life and be able to send money back home. Because like the goal for a lot of the immigrants that moved to the other areas was to eventually come back home, send money back home, right? So it was more of like, hey, I'm just going out temporarily, coming back. However, a lot of them got trapped or stuck or just couldn't go back because they can't come back eventually. So there's a lot of variables why that particular area was so present in terms of the immigration of Chinese people.
Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And my other question was, who would you say, like, what are the names in Chinese nine-man? Like indoor, we have like Taylor Shander, Matt Anderson, these kind of guys. Are there top 5 players that are like known and people want to come and watch them? And who are the names that we should know?
So I think the cool thing, and I think for me as a newer person and just trying to understand the stories, is like legends arise, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not just legends from like the last 10, 15 years. You hear about legends the last 50 or 60 years. I'm more familiar with the current legends within the last 10 years. There's some players that are just insane or really good, right? Like Kevin Wong, for example, like he transcends he is a legend, right? Because he's someone who was very successful in sixes, came in, played nines, adjusted the game and learned how to play the game and did it very, very well. There's a guy named Jeff Chung out in Toronto. He's a legend as well. He doesn't play, he coaches, but he ran a Connex team that from, I believe, 1966 to 2006 won 10 championships in a row. And he played on the Canadian national team as well as a libero setter, and he was insane as well. And like these people who are just like restaurant workers, they become legends, right, within the subculture. Some current players that I personally love seeing and watching. There's a guy named Justin Lamb out in Smash. Justin Lamb's that plays for San Francisco Smash. Really great outside hitter. They have a really good fastball named Tommy, probably one of the best fastball players out in the circuit. And there's some older players like Patrick Tui, great setter as well out in CYC. Those are some of the people that I can think of on top of my head that are just really great players that just stick out to me on my side. But there's some teams that stick out because it's often the time is less about the individual, but more of the teams. Like Smash is really good. CYC, Boston Knights A, Connex, San Francisco Dragons. Those are some of the teams that have been playing for quite some time that have made a really big name for themselves. And when they play, crowds form and watch them play.
So thank you. That's so sick. This is awesome.
Yeah, because, well, first of all, this is like foreign territory for a lot of us. Yeah, so just like
absolutely.
Asking, like, because like we get everything kind of explained, but there's just so much, like having your own, there's just so much more to it than like even what we've heard or anything like that.
Right.
Which is amazing.
I would recommend like watching on YouTube versus seeing in person is completely different, right? The community, the vibes, the speed of the game and the technicality game, like you can't get that over YouTube. Like you can like that's something you can only see in person.
Yeah. And then hopefully, like I said, hopefully we can get out to an event. We will get out to an event. It's a matter of like our schedules and that
absolutely.
But so I want to kind of get in the background, like your job. Would you say you're head of Chicago United? Are you the organizer? Or what would your title, would you say, be?
Yeah, I like my team. My team calls me Daddy, jokingly.
Daddy Tony, Daddy
Daddy
Chan.
Tony. Yeah, Daddy Chan. I guess. I'm 35. I'm already considered the old guy on the team, so I'm like, I still can play, still hang with them, but you know how I see it's their team. Like I don't want to impose myself, right? They're a little bit younger on that side, and you know I'm good at organizing. I'm good at kind of having a vision for the team. So I'm more of like a organizer GM, and then I coach when I can. So that's kind of like how I see my role in the team. I run practices, make sure they're hydrated, make sure they know what's going on, hotel booked and everything. So that way they can just focus on playing when they come, you know. And a lot of other teams have what they call uncle and aunties and like a huge support system that do what I do.
Okay.
But like hundreds and tens of people that help them do that. Whereas I'm just one person.
No need. They got Daddy. Come on
Yeah,
now.
Daddy Tony. That's right. So
So
eventually, right, when they have kids, they'll call me Uncle Tony. And you know, the hope is their kids can have something that they can play as well. And
Awesome. Is there a team in Hawaii? Is there a team
sorry,
in Hawaii?
there's not a team in Hawaii, from my understanding. There's been Hawaiian players that have participated in, but there's no team in Hawaii. And I think it's tough because it's more of a geography thing. Even us being in Chicago, it's really tough. Like we play against each other, we learn bad habits and nines against each other, and we're kind of stuck in an island. Whereas other cities have the luxury of being able to play against other clubs and have the history. Like Toronto has like over 30, 40 teams. New York has like 15 teams. DC has like 4 or 5 teams, right? So they can all learn, play each other and keep pushing us. So like, I can't even imagine how Hawaii can even like, you feel separated because you're all so far, right? So I think that's always tough, the geography of things.
Do you happen to know someone named Luke Lau?
I saw him.
Luke
actually. He was walking around. Actually, I've only met him or know of him because after video of Wapaka that first year, and he subbed in, and he had this like insane dig set, and then he cramped up, and then he was like, I need help. So I only know him through that, but I saw him like, oh, that's the legend Luke Lau. Okay, I heard he played nines.
He used to. He played on Kevin and Scott. Yeah, he used to play with Kevin and Scott.
Oh yeah, so he played on the SF West Coast team. I heard he was like an insane back row player.
Yeah.
Still is. He's just a little old now.
What is it called? The suicide? What's the
suicide?
Yes. So in nines, there's it's a little bit, there's less teams that run this, but there's a guy. The position is literally called suicide because it's suicide if you want to play this. And his job is to camp along the 2 or 3 foot line across the net and pick up any garbage balls and fastballs. You'll get smashed in the face, hit in the face, all that kind of stuff. Like you literally put your hands up and you just like hope you touch the ball, right? So that is the suicide position. Not as many teams run that. Like that's a very old school position, but it sounds like that's what Luke played. Am I understanding correctly?
That sounds exactly like the position. If I was like, if there was 9 positions and that was one of them, that's what I would guess he would play.
Yeah, that is the most insane scrappy position because like you're going to get hit in the face, dunked in the face, everything that's possible. And then you get blamed if you don't get picked on it. So it is a very hard position to play. Not as many teams run that anymore, unfortunately.
Are there?
But that comes to a good point. It's like, if you want to be on a team like that, where it had like the Wongs, it had like Lambert and those guys, they need a guy to do that. So it's like, he volunteered, he'll be on the team and he'll be the guy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's totally like a Luke move. That's funny though.
Yeah.
So what would, you talked about like that style or that defensive strategy has kind of gotten weeded out. How has the game changed? Because indoors, the game's changed a ton.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the same process is happening. People are learning how to do different things. Like, what are things that are changing? And then what are the defensive and offensive strategies, like, so that people can get it? That's a big question. There's a lot going on there. But
yeah, absolutely. So from my understanding and what I've learned from other cities, the game has gotten a lot faster, a lot quicker. The game has gotten more athletic. The game has gotten more creative. So I think for that, the strategies has changed in terms of like, what do you focus on? What do you hit on? Because like you literally have players that can dunk over the ball. You have really strong pins and such. So from what I've heard, the game has gotten a lot faster. The other thing too is like teams have gotten more competitive across the board. From talking to other teams that have been around the circuit, a lot of them said like there was a clear distinction before of really, really good teams and really, really bad teams. Like the middle of the pack back in the day, I've heard they were okay. They were not great. However, now that the sport has grown, the middle of pack team, like it's more competitive, just not 1 to 16, but 1 through like 30 or 40 teams can make gold on Monday. And just because of, maybe the way things you can't control, like how the pools are seated, or, the ball didn't bounce your way, or you got a crappy ref, they might not make gold, and silver is still very, very competitive. So from my understanding, that's been the biggest change, is like everything is just more athletic, faster, more competitive, and just the teams are just stronger across the board. To answer your questions about strategy, I think that's an interesting subject, and something that, like, as I call myself an outsider because I'm relatively new, of like what I've observed. Every city, every club runs a different scheme and a different defensive and offensive approach. The typical, right? Like you're never going to have 8 guys. I mean, you can if you want, but you can have 8 guys up in front of the net. The typical teams I've seen is you either run 6 blockers up front and 3 in the back row, or you might run 5 in the back and you run kind of some, what I call like the trapezoid, where it looks like a trapezoid in the back, and you're literally rotating left and right, depending where the ball is going to each pin. So 5 up, 4 back. And those are defensive strategies that teams run. And then on the offensive side, right, different cities run different things. You have some teams that might run for sure a fastball. So that's that dunking motion that you saw Donnie was showing off there. And then for sure, like a tandem, like a 2-ball coming in right after that. And then to kind of spread that out a little bit more, with that extra hitter, they might run a back one. If they don't run a back one, they might run a 31 ball as well. And then obviously the 2 pins on the left and right side are the key components of every offense there. And then, the back row, I explained that as well. So that's something that new teams have to pick up, or you understand, like, okay, CYC, they run a back one, front one fast. They run a 2-ball and they run 2 pins on the outside, right? And then you have to understand, like, okay, this team runs a 31 ball. They don't have a back one. They have a 1-ball, 2-ball. We know their 1-ball has their fastball has a sweet spot going here. Those are the different strategies that you have to pick up and know and understand the intricacies. And that's something like I'm still learning. I didn't really pick up until probably like the last year or so, or this year as well, from just asking and kind of learning from other people.
I can't imagine what a scouting report. I know it's a tournament, so you don't get time to but like our scouting reports are already as like complicated enough. But a scouting report on like 5 hitters and like would be a mess. Like that would be so ridiculous.
It's pretty creative too, right? Because like the other thing too, I want to point out, like Coach Donnie, when he was teaching that motion, that's just one motion in terms of how I believe, I want to call that the West Coast style. East Coast style runs their motion completely different. Connex and Toronto runs their motion, and every city runs their motion on the fast, and how they kind of grab the ball and how their arm placement is completely different. So it throws off your timing on your block as well, and how you run it and how their motion run it, right? Because I think his was like kind of like this, whereas some teams, they grab it behind them and they use their whole body to torque. So they have the cross body and also front body shot as well. So that is another intricacies that teams have to pick up on. Like, okay, they run their fast only this way. That's a sweet spot. Let's make sure we shift our block towards that area. So stuff like that you pick up on as well.
Bro, I know my brother here, what I was telling us to Faye, would love 9-man volleyball. because he finds any excuse to dump the second ball or dunk it.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, there's no back row or front row rules, right? There's like all 9 people could be front row. So I know my brother over there be just yelling at us to get it on the net just so we can just take it and just
like dunk the ball.
We don't have a fastball. I am the fastball.
Yeah. To grab it. Yeah.
Are there some teams that use 8 attackers?
Never seen that. Never ever seen that. There's too much traffic up front. You're gonna have like broken,
too confusing.
Broken
angles.
Like
just straight line. Whoever gets it.
Even 5 hitters, like it's so hard to make everyone happy, because like even on our team,
can't even. Being a setter.
Oh gosh,
how many people want the ball? And you as a hitter, you get like 1 ball a game, maybe.
Right? Like we have a 31 ball, and everyone always complaining. His setters like, please set me, please. But it's so hard to spread the ball around with 5 hitters, and it's hard to make everyone happy. But the good teams, people understand their roles. People understand this is not 6s, this is 9s. It's a completely different game, and I have to have a little bit of humility to understand that I'm not doing what I'm doing in 6s. This is not 6s, this is 9. And you have to have a respect for the game as well, right? Because if you don't, it will bite you back. Like you will lose and you will not do really well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So one thing I was curious is like, we talk about the generational players, talk about the generational organizations.
Yeah.
Who are these players that are like I said, you guys are pretty new, but do these guys that play 9-man a lot of time? I'm guessing they have like regular jobs. How do they get in the community? Do they start out like people in 6s or like, and how do they afford this? Because it said there's no prize.
So I think it's important to kind of loop back on the history of it as well, because I mentioned it's really important, right? So back in the day when this was just played in the streets of Chinatown and we were excluded outside of the greater community and excluded from, everything in America, it was your laundry workers, your restaurant workers, your blue collar workers in Chinatown that just got together and to use this as a way to connect with each other and share a commonality of heritage and culture. So a lot of that is like how it was before, right? And they would play for the pride of their city and for their Chinatown. So when they win, they get written in the Chinese newspaper, word kind of goes around, and they're all-stars and they're famous within the Chinese community in Chinatown. And that is like the pride and joy, right? And that's all they play for. Now it is a varying degree because, Chinese have been in America for quite some time. So like a lot of us, we do have a better life than people that have come before us, right? But there's still restaurant workers, people that are blue collar workers, but there's a level of diversity, like second generation, like me. My parents are immigrants, but I grew up here. I have a white collar job and I work in tech, right? Some other players on my team, they are college kids that want to find a way to connect with fellow Chinese Americans and Asian Americans that have the commonality of playing volleyball with each other. So there's a level of diversity, blue collar, white collar, age, like it transcends all that across the board within the community in terms of players. And then you're talking about skill level, professional players, national team level players recently. Like we talked about Kevin Scott, Mike Lambert coming to play as well. People that play D1, D3, like we have a few D3 players. I personally play college club back in 2005 on my side. And, I think majority of my team members play college club. In terms of paying, like we all pay for our own way. It's tough, but everyone contributes. There's either a level of fundraising teams do. Some teams run it as nonprofit, get donation from, family members. They might have been a long time, a budget and such, but like every club is a little bit different. Like for us personally, we all pay our own way on our side. Some of our younger kids might work summer jobs just to play. And a lot of them can't afford club, right? In Chicago, there's no affordable clubs for them to kind of hone their volleyball skills and play in the off season. So sometimes they might use this as a way to play club that they can't afford to in other ways in other cities. So It's a very diverse way, and kind of like in terms of how people pay their way to play. So there's no prize money. It's pride. It's for the community and just to have fun and enjoy each other.
I want to know if this.
Oh yeah, go Joe.
I was gonna say, but I want to know if there's ever been a college coach who's gone or recruited at a 9-man event.
College, I've seen the reverse, meaning there's
I'm
some
not
clubs.
Recruit you anymore.
Yeah, I've seen a reverse where there are nine-man coaches that go to club events and they'll be like, "Are you Chinese? You're Asian? Cool, you're playing 9-man." Like, there's some of my players that played at the USAV national tournament, and they run into Asian players like, "Do you play 9-man?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I play 9-man. Which city?" And there's really cool conversation that they have with each other, because like then they have that connection, the commonality and such. So that's really cool. Generally, if there's like an Asian player in USAV nationals, more than likely and from a major city, more than likely they play 9-man before. So I've seen a reverse where teams or coaches or players try to recruit, at the college level, and like, "Hey, if you're not doing off season, come play with my team here. Like, Micah, come play with us in New York or Chicago sometime."
That makes, yeah, of course. That's a smart move.
Yeah.
GM over here.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't afford you, but I will buy you a triple a rice box with barbecue pork, roast pork, and duck. So that's all I can provide for you.
Okay. I was thinking that because a lot of times with things that have deep histories, there's families attached to that, and like last names that kind of stand out. Are there any last names or families that kind of stand out in the Chinese 9-man I guess community?
Yeah, not that. I mean, there's there's a few families that stick out to me. Mostly not because like they stick out like they're godly or whatever, but they stick out more so like I've gotten time to know them, and like they're very nice and great people, and they've really welcomed me into their family. One is like the Chin family out in CYC. I've gotten to know Patrick, his nickname is Tui, really well, and he's like a 3rd generation 9-man player. And his brothers play, his dad plays, I believe his grandfather might have played as well, right? But he has a big family where his cousins and his like uncles and all that kind of stuff, everyone's semi-related, and they've all been just really nice to us. Like when we went to Washington or DC to scrimmage with them, I was like worried about, okay, how can I get a canopy? How can I get water? He's like, "Tony, don't worry about it. Just come, show up. We'll take care of you. Everything will be taken care of. Just come and ready to play." They even bought our team dinner as well. Like, wow. That is a family that sticks out to me more so. Like they're so great people, and there's a level of history and heritage that Tui has, and just willing to like welcome me into the community. Another family is the Goon family out in Boston. Bobby, who's the president of the whole committee that runs the national tournament. I actually found out that we're semi-related through marriage as well. He has a son that plays who is a really great back row player and setter as well. He's a coach, and I always joke with him. He's that type of coach that he will do what it takes to either talk trash or to like get under the skin of the ref, to like just be really, really annoying and such. Like he came up to, we played his B team, and he yelled at me like, "Portillo's suck." I'm like, "What? That's so random." He was like screaming, "Chicago suck," blah, blah, blah. And he was like bugging my refs and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, I always joke that he's a mass hole if he wants to be. And he has like a thick Boston accent, but very, very nice guy. Like after the match, he came up to me. He's like, he apologized. He's like, "That's kind of my thing." Like we talk on the phone, like on a month, at least once a month, and, just talk about life and just to catch up. So like, those are the people that stick out to me, in terms of family oriented in the 9-man community, just more so because they've taken the time out of their day to connect, to invest in our club, and to teach our club many things. And that's the same story across the board with other clubs. Everyone is just so nice and welcoming.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
do you think Wait,
No, go,
I
Micah.
got one
Micah,
more. I
go.
got one more. I got one more.
Okay.
Micah's so like fired up about it.
So when it
Yeah.
comes to like the fundraising, do you
Mhm.
think that in the past, did it ever work where like it was such a pride of the community, and like, for example, each Chinatown would like sponsor their team, or
Mhm.
like, and they would collect funds? And is that happening at all anymore, or
Yeah, I
no?
would say I'm not sure, but it happens here and there, but maybe just more on an organization level. So back in the day, each city had these organization. Um, like there's one called the CCBA, which is the Chinese Community Benevolent Association, and they were the ones that actually spearheaded the tournaments back in the day. And these organizations sprouted out more so as a need for the community to have an area where Chinese people can go learn English, get some programs to kind of help them navigate this foreign world. And from my understanding, a lot of these CCBAs might sponsor these tournaments, might help kind of push the envelope, might even like sponsor some clubs to kind of go to other cities. And clubs were really connected to those associations. Like there's an On Liang Association as well across different cities that might provide more of a nonprofit type of support for the Chinese community. And yeah, so I don't think it's happened as much these days because we've come a long way in terms of needing these services, right? But we're still connected in some way, right? The CCBA is still very active in that community, and there's just so much more teams as well. So it's more of like, if I can't really be,
Right.
I can't favor one club or another, right? So I think there's that aspect of that. But I know some clubs are still very close with the CCBA. Like I believe the New York Strangers out of New York, the CCBA helped sponsor and host the New York Mini Tournament, which is the second largest tournament. And I know the CYC is still connected to the CCBA. So there's a lot of history and heritage that's connected with that as well.
All right, Gage.
So sick. No, I'm still like wrapping my mind around all this. You say, oh yeah, I've only been in the game for a little while, and all this information.
I mean, when you all observe Nine Man, like what are your like initial thoughts? Like not on like a overall basis, but on more of like a technical basis. Cause like you all have very advanced volleyball careers, right? You get scouting reports. So I'm curious to hear like your perspective on it as well on more of a technical level.
So I've been editing a lot of all the games that you see. I've been editing, and I haven't gotten to the finals or semifinals yet. But one thing that I've learned is when us three played together, I always say that, hey, we know how to win, and we know like how to reach that next gear.
Yep.
It's when you start expanding more people on our team where it gets harder and harder and harder.
Yep.
We experienced that with 6-man. We went to Manhattan.
Right.
And so one thing I noticed about 9-man is not every player on the court is skilled. Like, for example, there would be some balls that people run after and they don't put it over or something like that. I'm like, okay, that's the madness to it as well. You got to find 9 people. And like I said, I haven't watched the finals and semis, so it could be all of them are really, really at the same level, or even obviously you're gonna have your best players, but can hold their own. So finding that many players and having just 9 players on a court is wild on itself. The rules are wild in itself. But having 9 players on a court that are all different skill lengths, trying to find them the skill levels rather than just being like, well, we need 3 more people. Let's go grab anyone who meets whatever you need it to be on the court. So it's like there's a whole lot of moving pieces to it. And but also just like I can tell that it's a good community because a lot of the guys like they call their own touches, they do all this other stuff. So
call their own touches.
For the most part.
For the most part, it can get pretty crazy if like people don't agree with calls.
Exactly. So I haven't seen like maybe the highest of levels.
I think a lot about like just from an attacking standpoint, like thinking about the block out situation. That's my first thing that I think of is like, if you can't penetrate, I would be like really going for like a lot of block outs. And like to a point where like
Blockouts meaning like touching, trying to look for hands and tooling.
Right. Sorry. Like hitting the block
Yeah.
and then going out, like, so that no one else can touch it. And just like, I wonder if I'd be able to create a strategy where like, I'm just working that edge blocker.
Yes.
Like, so like at such a gnarly, like, even if he touches it, it's a replay to me. So it's like, I'm not hitting it hard. I'm just hitting it softly. Like, but I've also played it. It's harder than it looks. Like
there's a level of finesse to the game, especially if you're a pin hitter. And we learned very fast that you don't bounce the ball. Right. We learned very quickly because you're always going to have 3 hands up there at all times, right? I remember there's one time in New York Mini, our second year, there was like an old man's team, and we're like, this is going to be a cakewalk. They tooled the crap out of us and just like played with our hands and just like every dirty, like I joke, like they 9-manned us to death. Like it was like we were 100% more athletic, individually a lot better, but they knew how to play the game. And really good teams, like especially on the block, like they know how to read the hitter of what kind of shot. So they'll all shrink their hands. So then the off blocker that's curling around, or they'll just let the trust their back row to be able to pick that up because it's not going to be as a hard shot, or the tip. So like they'll go up, and then all of a sudden the good teams, they'll just shrink your hands right away to kind of fake out the hit. So those are some little intricacies that I've seen teams do to prevent stuff like that. But newer teams don't know that, right? And especially you're younger, like you just want to bounce the ball every single time. But good teams know how to. Good pin hitters I've seen, they even to a point where they might guide the ball to the guy's hand, right? And there's a concept called waterfalling where the ball kind of goes under. And then if you touch it, that's illegal, right? But really good teams know how to play that play. But if you're inexperienced, that's pretty much what we call free cheese for the hitter on that side.
No, I think it'd be a cat and mouse game with like hitting really high and then getting guys to reach and then getting it under. But we got 9-man. Our team was gnarly. Yeah. And the first set we lost, we're like, what the heck was that? And then we started like slowly figuring it out, and it definitely took us the whole tournament. But it's no joke. Like you can't underestimate anybody. There's no doubt that they can.
And I think that's the cool part is like even if you might have a star player, or you might have a bunch of star players, teams that might not be as talented but know how to play the game can easily exploit and know like strategically of how to win. Like at this one game that I saw in nationals, they're full of like, they were like all 6'4", 6'5", huge guys. They all look like D1 guys. There's another team that was more of like a old school team, and they just picked them apart, and it wasn't even a game. Like they just 9-manned them like over and over, and they just played with their hands and just like hitting into their hands and like just throwing it down the middle because they don't know how to block the fastball. So stuff like that.
Yeah, it's probably.
There's so many moving parts that you got to look out for. But I'm sorry. It was a pleasure having you on, Tony. First of all, thanks for hopping on. And first, another thing, thank you for welcoming us into the 9-man world and inviting us to the events and stuff. And we'll for sure, again, through our schedule, we don't know when, but we'll for sure we'll make it out to a 9-man event and hopefully participate. Hopefully join you guys in Chicago. But again, thank you so much for hopping on. And now that our eyes are open to the community. Another thing, I want to give a shout out to Chicago United. Follow them on Instagram. Follow Tony Chan on Instagram as well, aka Daddy. And thank you so much for hopping on, Tony.
No problem. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. The only thing I encourage people is just to look deeper, open up your worldview a little bit more, right? And like understand that this is just a different variation of volleyball. There's like no wrong or just different type of volleyball, right? So
thanks, Tony.
You can handle the heat. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Daddy, aka Tony Chan, for hopping on, the 9-man god. We're gonna refer to him as that because he's a 9-man god, because he opened our eyes to a whole new world of volleyball, in which we are so lucky to dip our feet into. Well, first things first, what are you guys' first takes just from 9-man, just the content that we've been putting out, and also just like the culture of it, and just like everything behind it, the gravity.
It's so sick, dude. The history is so incredible. I think that makes it way more special. And then the game itself is insane. The rules are so cool. I think I would love to see what we could come up with and like be creative about it. But I just love, like, I don't know. I don't think that people are covering like all the different aspects of volleyball. Like, I like that we don't focus too much on indoor. We don't focus too much on beach. Like, and that we want to, like, I want to go to these places. I see people playing in dirt arenas, like in like India and Africa. And like, I want to go there with a media team so bad. And like, just shine a light on it. Freaking volleyball everywhere and like the different versions of it.
Dude, I've been like, I saw that on YouTube or Instagram, and I've been try to contact them and like DM people like that. And like, oh, it's in like Pakistan or something like that. I was like, oh, no, was it Pakistan? I don't remember. Somewhere like in the Middle East. I was like, how do you get in contact? How do you get there? You know, like I would love to put ourselves in that position.
That was my thought. Like, right when we started, I told Joe, I was like, Joe, we got to go to some of these dirt ball games that are like
in Thailand.
Places.
Oh
like yeah.
The crazy.
Have you seen that the tiny small court, the tiny one?
Yeah.
Dude, we got to go there. We got a lot of places to go.
Philippines have some sick, and it's like they're huge volleyball fans in the Philippines.
They are, dude. They are. We got some places to go.
Yeah, but
we already got invited to a couple places. We already got invited to a couple things. Like we got invited to the Bahamas. We got invited to Australia. We have so many cool places that we get.
Australia is in a pretty tough spot right now.
Yeah, really tough. I was talking to Nemo, the starting middle for Berlin, and he's just telling me his family doesn't come till November, but his wife has to go to a wedding in Australia in November. So she couldn't come and go because obviously it's like crazy difficult to come and go back. So she just had to stay for 4 months if she wanted to go to the wedding.
What's going on in Australia? Sorry, I'm behind on all this.
The lockdowns are just out of control, man. And they've been out of control for like a year. There's been a lot of protests, it's really, really bad there. I don't know what the situation is like now. I honestly want to get Nemo on it or just talk to somebody from there. Because obviously the media hasn't covered it very much at all. A lot of people don't know.
Nemo would come on in a heartbeat. Nemo's the man.
But I would love to hear about what's going on in Australia. But somebody that kind of knows what's going on. Anyways, that's off topic.
No, but like you said, there's so many events. Do you guys seeing us having to make a decision in the next couple of years here, whether to go full out of system or not? Because a lot of those tournaments are throughout the year, are in the summer as well. If anyone's planning to do like USA stuff and stuff, do you guys ever see yourself having to make? Have you guys thought about that at all or no?
Yeah, bro, dude.
I did a while. Me and Joe did a lot last year.
Right.
We did a lot last year. Right now, I haven't been thinking too much about that, but
I mean, you got to see. It's
definitely always there. It's always there. Yeah.
Dude, I like that. I mean, like I have the best time always doing like this stuff and like traveling to like obscure stuff, like the grass volleyball stuff. I don't know. Like that stuff's always the most enjoyable to me because there's also no structure. You don't have somebody telling you like, oh, this is your schedule. This is what we have to, this is how we play. I don't know. There's all these things that like you're told how to live your life and how to do this and how to do that. Whereas like when we go and do our own thing, like we can play whatever style we want. We like just have that freedom, which I love. I think that's the biggest thing for athletes that they struggle with, but also that they enjoy the most is when they leave like a team sport. Like, now what do I do with all this? What do I do with all this time? When you go home for the summer after being done with your season in college, you're like, all right, well now I don't have to wake up every morning and go to 6 a.m. weights and do all this. And my schedule is not like written out for me day to day. And it's just totally different. So that's why I think I also like that. I really like the out of system stuff because we always have the freedom to do whatever we want. We're in control of everything, and
we're out of system.
Exactly.
Out of
the
system.
Like the road trip. Like we planned it all out, and we're gonna do this instead. We'll do this instead. Where you go on a road trip with your club teams or your college teams, it's not like you're like, actually I'm gonna go here today. You just don't have that freedom. And so that's what I also like about us and what we're able to do when we go to see cool places. So
Definitely some things to think about in the next couple of years here. I think, like I said, there's some personal goals for some of us as well. So we'll see where everything goes. It'll all work itself out. Another thing is, all right, one more question about 9-man. Then I'm gonna ask quick, and then we'll give a quick tidbit update about our season. First of all, I think we would actually be our style of game fits very well with 9-man. Now, like I said, there's a lot of other factors. Like if we got to find 6 other players that actually know what the hell they're doing. You got to have someone to block the fastball. There's so many different, but in terms of if we were to get like stuck in there or to get like thrown in there, I think we could figure it out pretty well.
Gage, I think you'd be really good at blocking a fastball because you're late.
Jabbing.
You're late up move. Exactly. That's how you get the I feel like if you're up too early, it's going to come down.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
You have to be coming up somehow, like while they're throwing it so that your touch is up.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No. It makes complete sense.
But I also don't know if that is right in any way because I've only seen it like a couple.
Yeah, but a lot of those, I'm sure those guys.
Every single ball.
Joe,
I would throw every single ball.
Just for Joe, we would switch the offense. We would switch the offense. So we would pass to the left, and Joe's throw would be with his right hand.
It's true. But I also feel, and then Micah, like, here's the thing. I feel like not many people would be able to, because your main hit is the high, like, deep hit. And there's 2 parts to that. It's in, and it's from a high point, and they can't press. So let's say they drop their hands. Guess what? They got a just absolute beamer just flying over there. And Joe would send me quick and we'd find out the different angles that I can kind of, because I don't go through and I'm not going over anyone. Let's get that out of the way.
No, you would just go block out because, dude,
I go around. I go
hard
through
enough, like, and on the way up, that thing is gone.
That's true. I'm going
but really,
for it.
We don't know anything.
That's talking like we're experts.
Really,
for my 9-man. Wait, how did you do the 9-man? How did you personally have the 9-man?
We won.
Yeah. Don't be humble. I don't want you to be humble. I want you to. How did you do personally? Did you dominate pretty well? Were you like consistently
how
the
did
main
I do
hitter?
Personally,
don't be humble. You got to get the straight answer because the fans want to answer it. Straight answer here.
It was me and Taylor like getting a lot of balls. Yeah.
Okay. As it should be.
We would switch off, and he would go on the left, and I would go on the left. But it was not easy. Like there were some teams that really were like, "What are we gonna do? Like, we don't understand this." And there's like a lot of things that we just didn't
defensively speaking, not offensively speaking, though, right?
No, offensively speaking, for a little bit because we were like, "Wait, like, where do we hit?" Like, there's so many people, and like we don't know what to do. Like, we don't know whose ball is what. So it took us a while to get it, and then we kind of figured it out. But we did good. We did good, but it just took us a while to figure out like the strategies on both sides.
No, I get it. I mean, I'm talking about my ass here. I've never played before.
Oh, we are too. I am too. I am completely. I don't know anything about it still. I played in one like little one-day tournament and like didn't even do that good. But
so
updates on the season.
Updates on the season, Micah, go.
Me?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking already.
Okay. We're 2 games in. We played both home games. We had our first game was a fight. We were up 2-0, and then they came back. And then we were down in the 5th and came back and won in the 5th. And then our next game we played really well. Our opposite had 27 points in 3 sets. Which is 9 points per set, which is just ridiculous. And we
feed
beat
that man.
Team. Yeah, exactly. And we won that one as well. So far so good, but you never. It's like I'm just happy to get points because this league is so hard, and like we're not a great team. We're okay. We're hopefully gonna ruffle some feathers, but this isn't like it's not like we're supposed to be winning all these games. So I'm stoked, and we'll take it when we get it. We're not expecting to like go into the next one and like win the next one. We're still thinking that we're the underdog.
All right. The coach comes in. I think
the coach had the funniest pregame speech, man. He was like, and he said it all in Polish. And then after the guy's like, do you want to know what he said? I'm like, I'm good. Like, and he's like, dude, he said something funny. He's like, we are the ugly guy in the group that goes out to the nightclub and is trying to get the prettiest girl. He's like, we don't have a good shot, but we have to try. That's what our coach's pregame pump up speech was. That's it. I
That's
was like,
so
oh my
awesome.
gosh, man. It's incredible.
For the
Joe,
only guy.
Joe, what about you, man? How you guys doing?
We went 1-2 BBQ last week. We got our asses handed to us. We got our asses handed to us last week by Berlin and Friedrichshafen, who were the two teams in the German final last year. So on the
Yeah,
road.
those are the best two teams on the road. You got it out of the way.
Yeah, so we were
Only up from here, baby.
so the first 5 weeks of our season are all on the road because we're having issues with our gym being ready, our new gym. The new gym will be sick when it's ready. We went in there. But we have to play our first match November 3rd in the old gym, which is like a school gym, which I think is going to be sick. It's like this box, and everybody hates playing there. And we play this one team
spot.
And we play this one team, Durin, who is always chippy and nobody really likes playing them. And it's going to be a fun match to play. They're going to sell out the place too, so it's just going to be like crazy loud.
That's so sick.
That's the loudest gym like in the bar when it's packed because it's just a box and it's just unbelievable.
Lunenburg's gym is the loudest, you'd say?
This gym that will play in for that match
because stands of 20.
Because they pack in 1,000 people, which feels like it's a ton of people.
Oh, that's a dream, man. Volleyball should be played in close
like
spaces.
the spectators like almost over the
oh, that's so sweet.
The court, so it's gonna be rocking. But we go to Munich tomorrow, or I guess the day that this comes out, Friday. We go to Munich. We have 2 matches, so we need 6 points this weekend. Really, we need to get on.
But you go to Munich to play the same team twice in a row?
No, we play Hersching and then we play Unterhaching. 2 teams like in the same area, back to back.
Like Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday.
What? You guys do that?
Only for some matches. It's kind of brutal.
That's gnarly. So you guys are gonna have 4 games done.
Yeah.
So your season's gonna be shorter?
Dude, we finished the entire first round in first week of January.
So you're gonna be home soon?
No, because they stretch out that's what drives me nuts about leagues over here.
Stretch out the second one?
They stretch it out,
Why?
bro. Because they need to make money from their sponsors.
And when you end? Sorry, when you end? What month do you end?
Makes no sense.
We'll probably end like March, April, in that area.
Dude, I've had some wild experiences over here in the last couple of weeks. Some Joe knows, some Joe does not know. Remember the other day, I forgot about this story, bro. Well, first of all, we finally found out 2 days before we were playing. We have our first 2 friendlies tomorrow and the day after. So that'll be actually fun. Get a little first pro experience. And then our first game is 22nd. It's up next Friday here. And then it gets rolling from there. But, dude, it's so wild over here all the time, man. Like I said, I have some just every week I have some just wild experiences. Like, for example, so we don't own our own like workout gym. We go to a CrossFit gym, and Bulgaria is like big in like CrossFit, just like a big jacked guys with sweatsuits and buzz cuts or like military haircuts, right? And the gym's like full of just so many different kinds of people there. It's like a smaller space. I remember I was lifting the other day, right? So I'm lifting, and to my left is the squat rack. Okay. And I'm doing like battle ropes or something like that, or I forget. And I remember there's this guy just going ham on the squat rack, just going crazy, like and like people like yell in this gym because it's like these people are like straight up Hulk. And I can go on and on about this gym, like the paintings and the insane paintings on the wall of the most jacked Hulk-like figures, the most grotesque veins on a woman painted I've ever seen in my life, with just huge, well, I should say breasts. Just like it's the most insane stuff I've ever seen in my life. The stuff they paint on this wall. But anyway, so I'm doing the battle ropes, bam. I see this guy in peripheral vision to my left here. He's going crazy on the squat rack. He's like, whoa! And there's this kind of like dark figure, right, sitting in between me and the squat rack. And I don't really look, so I'm kind of in the zone, right? I'm trying to get it done. And then bam, I hit my brake. I'm like, whew. And I see this figure. It's like this black, huge figure, and turns and looks at me. I can see peripheral vision. I'm like, what the hell is this thing? So I just kind of try and do it like real slow. I look to my left, and I just see, and it's this dude's freaking dog, stop right here, right? You guys know what a Cade Corso is? Think of like a pit bull, but on steroids. And this thing's all black, got the docked tail, got the pointy ears, and he's just staring at me. And I'm just like looking at this dog. I'm like, what the hell is this freaking dog in here, Cade Corso, doing in the middle of a workout? And I find out that it's this guy's freaking dog, and he follows around to each different thing, to each different workout. I'm like, and he just sits there and just like looks, and that thing could literally rip my face. I'm like, oh my God. And then he walks out of the gym, the dog just falls. Anyway, one other thing. I just want to share I'm sorry. But one other thing. Dude, my coach cracks me up. First of all, I'm sorry, Mom, that this story involves swearing, but it wasn't for me, it's for my coach. My coach loved, like, the Bulgarians love to use the F word. Like, they love it. Like, I don't know, they just say it all the time. And so I was peppering with Jory, our setter, and Jory like gets really like off task, and like he's always partnered with me. So like, but the coach gets mad at me rather than Jory, because I'm the one distracting him, even though Jory had asked me all the questions. I remember we were peppering. And then Jory starts asking me about Duke University basketball. So I'm talking about him with him. And all of a sudden, dude, like when people like say like the structure is different in Eastern Europe, in like Balkan countries, obviously. So like when they say stuff, it's just like super funny to me. And I'm just talking. And all of a sudden from the back, I just hear, what the fuck, man? Just like I turn, he's like, dude, what the fuck? And I'm like, what? And I turn around and he's just like yelling at me, just the way he said, like, what the fuck? It was just so funny. I don't know. That didn't really translate great to the podcast. Anyway, yeah, we have our games. It's just really funny, just the way people talk. And there's more stuff, but I won't get into it. It's late for all of us here. I got a friendly. Just remember, Addison 20% off, Dr. Price Electrolytes, and support the boys by getting some merch down below. Link in the bio, follow us and everything, all our accounts. And Micah, thanks for hopping on. Joe, thanks for hopping on. And remember, if you can't handle the heat, goddamn kitchen. This has been another episode presented by Out of System.
Yeah.